January 1945. The gates open to silence. January 27th, 1945. Southern Poland. Snow drifts across the ruins of Auschwitz as Soviet troops move through the camp's open gates. The barbed wire glitters with frost. In the distance, barracks smolder like skeletons under the pale morning sun. The soldiers advance cautiously, rifles raised, not because they expect resistance, but because they can't yet comprehend what they're seeing. The wind carries a sound that isn't quite silence. It's the sound of the place where thousands once breathed, now emptied. Chimneys rise into the sky like blackened fingers. The ground beneath the soldiers' boots crunches on frozen mud mixed with ash. The air is heavy with a stench they will never forget, a mixture of burned wood, chemicals, and something human that defies language. A red flag flutters weakly above the gate, where iron letters still read Arbeit macht frei. The words, once meant as a mockery, now hang like a wound. Private Ivan Markov, age 21, steps carefully into a barrack, littered with blankets, broken shoes, and scattered papers. The silence is so thick, it presses on the chest. Every surface feels abandoned in mid-breath, as if the camp's inhabitants vanished between 1 second and the next. He passes rows of empty bunks. A child's shoe sits on one of them, its laces untied. A tin cup is frozen to the floor. On the wall, someone has scratched words in Polish, a prayer unfinished. The men exchange glances, but say nothing. None of their training prepared them for this. Then, in the corner of a half-collapsed storeroom, Markov notices something small, square, and brown. A suitcase, half buried in soot. It's marked in neat white paint. R. Horowitz, Krakow. He bends down, brushing off the dust. The leather is stiff with cold. The latch barely holds. He flicks it open, and the air fills with color. Inside are photographs, hundreds of them. Labeled in careful handwriting, Mama's birthday, 1938. First day of school. Summer at the river. Beneath them, letters in Yiddish and Polish, folded and refolded until the edges have worn soft. A child's drawing, crayons on thin paper, shows a house, a son, and a family of 4 holding hands. The crayon colors, red, green, yellow, stand out sharply against the gray world around them. Markov calls to his sergeant. Others gather around. They expect valuables, documents, something to explain the camp, but instead they find a life pressed flat between sheets of paper. A record not of politics or power, but of birthdays, rivers, smiles, and the quiet rituals of a family. None of them speak for a while. Then the sergeant mutters, "The Germans tried to burn everything." He looks at the suitcase again. Not this. That night, as the temperature drops below freezing, Markov wraps the suitcase in his coat and places it beside the fire. He doesn't know why he's keeping it, only that it feels wrong to leave it behind. In a camp built to erase identity, he has stumbled upon its quiet defiance. The family in the photographs. A week later, the camp is a field of ghosts. Survivors too weak to walk are carried to makeshift infirmaries. Others wander among the ruins, searching for faces they'll never find. The snow has begun to melt, revealing layers of abandoned possessions beneath. Hundreds of shoes, suitcases with names, toothbrushes, buttons, dolls with missing arms. It is as if time itself was interrupted mid-sentence. In the administration building, Soviet investigators begin cataloging evidence. Ledgers, uniforms, the remains of what the SAS didn't manage to burn. The walls are scorched black, the floors coated in a thin layer of ash. Rows of tables are covered in artifacts, spectacles, spoons, prayer books, human hair. The scale of it crushes the air out of the room. Markov brings them the suitcase. A young interpreter named Dr. Lena Kowalska, once a university historian from Warsaw, is assigned to examine it. She has spent the last months translating intercepted German documents and testimonies of escapees. But this is different. This is personal. She opens the suitcase carefully on a table, smoothing out the contents with gloved hands. Every photograph is labeled in the same handwriting. Horowitz family, a man with wire-rimmed glasses holding a violin, a woman with dark curls smiling at the camera. 2 children, a boy, perhaps 10, and a girl younger with a ribbon in her hair. Lena studies them for hours. The children appear in different seasons. At a fairground, in a park, in a classroom. Ordinary moments, frozen before the storm. They look like any family she might have known. On the back of one photo is a note, "To my sister Rivka, may we see each other again in a free Poland." Her throat tightens. She thinks of her own family, scattered during the occupation. She doesn't know if they're alive. At the bottom of the suitcase are folded letters addressed to Horowitz, Transport B, Krakow. Most are undelivered. Return stamps marked Empfänger unbekannt, recipient unknown. But one letter stands out. It's from the father, David Horowitz, dated 1943, written from Auschwitz II. The handwriting is small and precise. "My dearest Rivka, the children are well. We live day by day. Do not worry if you do not hear from us often. The mail is uncertain. Tell Mama I am still playing my violin. It reminds me of home. If anything happens, know that I have kept the photographs safe. They are all that is left of us." Lena stares at the final line for a long time. In a place where everything human was stripped away, this man was still thinking about memory, about what would remain. She realizes this suitcase wasn't just luggage, it was a vault, built to preserve memory itself. David must have hidden it before deportation, or entrusted it to someone who never made it out. The way the papers are arranged, the care taken, it's a message across time. Remember us. When the investigators finish their reports, Lena keeps the suitcase aside, labeling it Exhibit 27. But late that night, after the others leave, she reopens it. She takes out one photograph, the one of the little girl with the ribbon, and props it against her cup of tea. She studies it in the flickering lamplight. Outside, wind whistles through broken windows. Inside, she whispers to no one. "They wanted to erase you." Then she starts writing. It's not a report. It's a testimony. The testimony of things. Spring 1945. The war in Europe is collapsing. Reports from liberated camps flood the desks of Allied command. Each day, more evidence arrives. Photographs, bones, ash, names. But few artifacts speak as simply as the Horowitz suitcase. Lena carries it with her to Krakow, now a half-ruined city trying to breathe again. Entire neighborhoods are hollowed out, the streets littered with rubble and memories. She walks past a cafe where couples once drank coffee before the war. Now the windows are shattered, the tables overturned, and bullet holes scar the plaster walls. She begins tracing the family's name through pre-war records. She finds fragments, a shop registration for Horowitz and Sons violins, a school ledger listing Aaron Horowitz, age 10, a local synagogue membership list, a neighbor's testimony recorded weeks earlier. They played music every Friday night. The father played violin. The children danced, Then a deportation manifest. Transport 62, June 1942. The names match. David, Sarah, Aaron, and Leah Horowitz. None listed as survivors. Lena visits what remains of their neighborhood. The apartment door is sealed with Soviet wax. She presses her ear against the wood. Silence. But in her mind, she hears music. A violin. Faint and distant. Perhaps David's. Inside the hallway, traces linger. A faint handprint in dust. Wallpaper peeling, but still showing the pattern of roses. A child's chalk, drawing on the stairwell wall. Faded, but still visible. History doesn't speak with words here. It whispers through what's left behind. When the new Polish Historical Commission begins gathering evidence for the Nuremberg trials, Lena offers the suitcase as testimony. Inside are no weapons, no blueprints, only proof that a family existed, loved, and vanished. The prosecutors accept it. They call it Exhibit 139, Personal Effects of the Horowitz Family. When it's presented in court months later, the photographs are projected onto a white screen. Generals, lawyers, and judges, men hardened by years of war, watch the images flicker by. Birthdays, laughter, a family picnic under a willow tree. The prosecutor speaks softly. These are the people who the defendants called numbers. No one moves. For once, the courtroom is silent. The images make no accusations. They simply exist, and in doing so, they testify more powerfully than any words. A memory that refused to die. After the trials, the suitcase returns to Krakow. It's placed in the archives of the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, catalogued under recovered items. Over time, thousands more are found: shoes, toys, diaries. But the Horowitz case remains singular because it tells a complete story in fragments. Curators preserve the handwriting exactly as it was. Conservators painstakingly stabilize the paper so it will not crumble. Scholars study every photograph, matching faces to transport lists, reconstructing lives from the smallest clues: a shop sign in the background, a school uniform, a violin brand name. In the years to come, Lena will visit the suitcase often. Long after the war ends, she will sit alone in the museum archives, opening the case like a sacred text. She'll run her hand lightly over the ribboned photo of the girl, tracing the curve of her smile. She'll remember that some histories are written not in ink or stone, but in the quiet persistence of personal objects, a message smuggled through time. Decades later, visitors will stand behind the glass display, staring at the small brown case with white letters fading on its surface. They will see the photographs, the drawings, the careful handwriting. Some will cry, others will simply stare, unable to comprehend how something so small could contain so much humanity. Children on school trips lean closer, trying to read the names. Elderly survivors pause for a long time, as if recognizing something too familiar. Tourists fall silent. Even the air seems to grow heavier around the display, as though it remembers what people forget. Somewhere, in the space between the paper and the glass, between the ink and the silence, the Horowitz family continues to exist, not as numbers, not as a statistic, but as a mother, a father, a son, a daughter. But to the few who look closer, to the historian, the survivor, the soldier who first found it, it is more than evidence. It is a message smuggled through time. You tried to erase us. You failed. And in that quiet defiance, the Horowitz suitcase speaks louder than any monument ever could.